Hello to all my loyal subjects and a Merry Christmas to one and all. I have decided this year for Christmas that I am going to be Queen. And there are two reasons for that. The first is that, fuck it, if you can drive to Barnard Castle to test your eyesight, I fail to see why I can't be Queen. I mean, at least it's a paid job and I really wouldn't mind one of those at this point of the year. Secondly, I would do a much better job of being Queen than Lizzie 2 does. And there's one reason for that and one reason only, because I would refuse to participate in the mainstream media circus of whitewashing that is going on at the moment about the state of our country and the state of our government. There seems to be a sort of general message out there that, it's difficult to choose, isn't it? Should we be in tier 3 or should we be in tier 4? It's so hard to deal with this pandemic because a virus evolved and we did the best we could, but it didn't always work. And that would be a completely legitimate thing to be saying if we were talking in New Zealand or South Korea or somewhere that dealt effectively with the virus, but we're not. We're talking about a government that failed to listen to the scientists, that did the worst things to deal with the pandemic, that did the opposite of what scientists said was a good idea. They did too little, too late, too ineffectively, too incompetently, too corruptly. Everything about their handling of the pandemic was awful. If the Queen was going to give any honesty and clarity in her Christmas Day speech, it should start with the phrase, 2020 has been one hell of a motherfucking shit show. And I hold one person responsible for that, because the only person responsible for the shit show that we're in is Boris Johnson and his government, right? They did all of the worst possible things, and the media is presenting it as though, well, hey, nobody's perfect, but loads of people did better. Almost every single country around the world did better. What other countries around the world have now got 2 different new mutations of the virus spreading through the country? This is the worst place in the world for how we've dealt with it. And we should be calling that out. That's what the media should be talking about. The media should be presenting people with facts, with honest information, with what's going on. And instead, here's what happened a couple of days ago. I got a phone call from a regional BBC news outlet, and they said, we wondered if you'd like to come on air and discuss whether mother-in-law jokes are still appropriate at Christmas. I was like, oh great, yeah, let's distract everyone with a sort of stupid argument about something that basically everybody already knows the answer to, right? Let's distract people with that bit of fluffy debate. We should be talking about the facts of what is going on. And when we understand those facts, we haven't got time to talk about what is or isn't the most appropriate joke to tell at Christmas. We should be out there rioting, demanding an end to this absolute disaster that has been brought on by the incompetence and corruption and evilness of Boris Johnson and his government. And we also need to get away from this message of like, well, 2020's been awful, so here's hoping for a better 2021, because we could have had a better 2021. If we'd have listened to the science at the outset, yeah, even if we'd listened to the science when it seemed like the first lockdown wasn't working, even if we'd listened to the science like a month ago and had a circuit breaker lockdown and done all the things, closed the schools like the scientists were saying, like the teachers were saying, done all the things that were sensible at that point. If we'd listened to the scientists even once, we could be looking forward to a more optimistic 2021, and we're not. We have no idea if the vaccines we've developed work against the new mutations. And anyway, the virus is now so widespread in our society that the chances of there being yet another new mutation are extremely high. It could happen at any moment, and at some point a mutation will show up that doesn't get covered by the vaccine, and then we are back to square one, and it's worse than square one, because on day 1 of the first lockdown we all believed in it, didn't we? We were like, we're going to stay home and then we'll do it carefully and this will bring about an end to the virus, and we know it didn't work because our government was so incompetent and corrupt and evil and offered so little support to people. So now there's a new lockdown going on, and I know loads of people who are absolutely determined to ignore it and make the best of they can of the time, because they just know that it's not going anywhere. And so we're in a much worse situation. We've got several new strains of the virus. We've got no idea if the vaccines are going to work against them. We've got very low levels of adherence to the rules. We've got an economy that's broken by what's happened already, and further by the incompetent Brexit deal that Boris Johnson has shoved through at the last minute, hoping that we'll just be happy to have any kind of deal at all. But it's way worse than the last deal that we were offered, and
and there's so many things, freedom of travel around Europe. We won't be able to go travelling around Europe for extended periods of time. The Erasmus programme for students, that's been just thrown in the bin. All kinds of stuff that was really, really vital has just been ignored. It's an absolutely horrendous deal. It doesn't really help anybody except a few businesses. And we're looking into the new year and the media is trying to act like, well, it must be coming to an end. That's what we thought when the last lockdown had started to drag. It's not coming to an end. It's going to drag on and on and on and on. And the only way that we can get rid of it is to get into the streets and demand an end to this government, and that somebody be brought in who can do a more sensible and competent job than this. And if the Queen had anything to say in her Christmas Day speech that meant anything at all, it would be, I sincerely hope that we can bring back hanging of those terrible traitors who have tried to bring our country to its knees, and the first one whose head will go on the damn block before I get my fucking great axe out will be that absolute knob-end Boris fucking Johnson. And to you and your family, all the best wishes from me and mine here at Balmoral in some sort of safe room.